Welcome to our first Teen Talk by 334 Prevention Project on at Starbucks on Montgomery Highway. Today we have Executive Director from 334 Prevention Project, Miss Judy Guiler. Miss
Hey.
Judy, what is vaping?
What is vaping? All right, so today we are going to talk about vaping. Vaping is actually the act of inhaling juice, or a lot of people call it a juice. It's a vaporized substance that is heated in a vaping device. And that is what vaping really is.
Is vaping better for you than cigarettes?
Is vapor better than cigarettes? No, it is not, in my opinion. I'll put it that way. The only reason I say that is because so much has happened in the past couple of years due to vaping. We've had almost 3,000 people reported to go into the hospital due to vaping diseases of the lung. And of those, as of today, we have 63 that have passed away. You know, it took us almost 52 years to realize that smoking tobacco was a very dangerous thing to do. And within the past 2-3 years, we already know of all the different diseases that have come about because of vaping, such as popcorn lung, and also the wet lung disease, which is very prominent right now.
So what is the big deal about nicotine?
What's the big deal about nicotine? Wonderful. You know what? A lot of people say that they don't smoke cigarettes because it's so dangerous, but they're also smoking this new device called Juul. Y'all know exactly what that is. I was actually told over the weekend by my daughter that the college scene, what they're doing now, instead of using the Juul device, they have this new device that's called Pops or Puffs. And it looks just like a Juul, and the nicotine inside of that Juul, or that pop, is also very high in nicotine. All right? So what's happening is our teenagers are getting addicted to nicotine so much quicker than when I was a kid, and I smoked cigarettes, unfortunately. But when I smoked a cigarette, I only got 1 milligram of nicotine. Nicotine is very dangerous in your body because what it does is it causes your heart rate to increase, causes your blood flow to go quicker, your blood pressure rises. When your blood is going faster and your blood pressure is rising, it's causing this plaque to form. When the plaque forms inside of your heart or inside your veins, it causes heart disease, also causes, heart attacks. Unfortunately, us women are prone to have strokes due to this process. So it's a very dangerous drug. Not only is it the addictive part of a cigarette or a part of the vaping, but our children are getting hooked at higher levels because when you're doing the Juul, 1 pod of Juul is like smoking 2.5 packs of cigarettes. And there are a lot of kids, a lot of students who actually, they vape 1 pod a day.
What are the most common diseases that come with smoking, or vaping from e-cigarettes or
The diseases.
Juuls?
Very good. I even have some props here for the diseases. And I had mentioned before the popcorn lung. Popcorn lung actually developed in a popcorn factory, believe it or not, many years ago. And what happened is when they started adding flavors, you know how we love the little flavors in the vaping devices. The flavoring is what's actually causing this disease called popcorn lung. And what happens is you get these blisters that form inside your lungs. And when the blister pops, it makes a hard scab. Well, our lungs do not know how to heal themselves. Once we have damaged our lungs, it's there forever. Your lungs just never regrow, they never rejuvenate. So what happens is when you start to breathe and you have these scabs inside your lungs, it makes it really hard. It hurts. It hurts. Have you ever had, when you play baseball and you got a big old strawberry on your knee, and then you get up the next morning and you put your pants on and that scab gets hung up in there? You know that feeling? You know what I'm talking about, ladies? That is exactly what it feels like inside their lungs. It's devastating when they're breathing, that air is rushing over the scabs inside their lungs, and it's just killing them, slowly but surely. Another disease that we know of is called wet lung. And what happens is the vaping solution gets a hold and it holds on to one of our air sockets, or one of the little air pockets inside of our lungs. And it seeps into that air sac. And once it gets inside, what happens, it starts to get hard and fibrous. So it's very much, it's a hardening of the lung. And this is also starting to happen inside of people who vape. The most common problems that we have found is problems with upper respiratory. They also get the pneumonia. Do you know how much water it takes for an infant to drown? Anybody have any idea? A teaspoon. It takes 1 teaspoon of liquid for an infant to drown. If we really think about the vaping device, we're taking a liquid and we're heating this liquid up, which turns into a vape, all right? So you inhale that vaping into your lungs, and when you exhale, it doesn't all come out, does it? No, because even when you breathe, you still have air inside your lungs. When you exhale, you just can't get it all out. So whatever is left inside of our lungs, it goes from that heated vape stage to a cooled down liquid. It goes right back into the liquid that you're actually vaping. And we know there's chemicals inside that liquid. We have chemicals and nicotine and flavoring. All of these, the flavoring is what really attracts most of the students. But all of these things, they sit at the base of your lung. So now every time you inhale, it turns back into a liquid, and it sits there, and it starts to irritate your lungs. I do know of one instance of a young man in Pensacola. He actually, over the holidays, ended up at the hospital. And he finally admitted to his parents that he was vaping. And what happened is his lung collapsed. And on the bottom of his lung where it collapsed, they had to go in and surgically remove that area because it had stuck. It was so sticky that it had stuck together and they couldn't get it to open. So they went in and surgically removed that part of his lung. And it's because he chose to use a vaping device. I will not tell you the name of it, but that's what happens. And it's happening so quickly in our youth today because most of the students who do vape, they're not just taking those small little puffs like the parents are. They're actually ripping that device and they call it juuling or ripping. It's where they inhale a large amount of the vape and it gets into their lungs and they hold it there for as long as they can and then they exhale it. Have y'all ever seen someone in the bathroom at your schools vaping? I'm sure everybody has. I have been told in some places they were bringing blankets and pillows and they're just like hanging out. And all the girls are hanging out in the bathroom having little vape parties. Isn't that crazy? But if you do rip those jewels or, if you do the juuling and you inhale it and you keep it in your lungs for a long period of time, what happens is when you exhale it, the large amount of nicotine that you've put into your system is now giving you a rush. And the symptoms that are happening, such as ringing of the ears and dizziness and lightheadedness, and sometimes people are saying that it feels like their eyes are rolling back in the back of their heads. What it is a nicotine overdose is actually what they're doing. And you can die of a nicotine overdose. Isn't that crazy? There's so much that needs to be learned because there's so much I don't even know. And I'm sure somebody's going to ask me a question and I'm going to go, I don't know. We don't know yet. We're still researching it. We do know not one product on the market is FDA approved. The federal government has not approved not one vaping device. But we also know that big tobacco, which is your larger tobacco companies, the Marlboro Company has just acquired Juul because they know it's you guys who are going to do that. They're after that teenage group. Isn't that silly? That took a while.
Can vaping lead to smoking cigarettes?
Can vaping lead to smoking cigarettes? Yes, and mostly it does. And the reason I say that is because after a while, you know, if I can do a juuling device and get 2.5 packs of cigarettes, they're expensive. Those little pods are like, you know, $15 for 3 or 4. After a while, that's a very big expense. So I do know a couple of people from Troy have told me that the kids that are actually vaping around campus, when they go off, they smoke cigarettes at the bar. And they're smoking them one right after the other because they're just not getting that amount of nicotine that they're used to. Crazy. But it does lead to smoking cigarettes. And that has been proven. Yeah, because they're easy to get a hold of. They're cheaper. It's cheaper than buying a pod, you know? Yeah. Another question?
Sure. Is secondhand smoke from vaping dangerous?
Secondhand smoke from vaping. That's a good question because we haven't done any research on that. But I can only imagine if secondhand smoke from cigarettes is dangerous or more dangerous than actually smoking it through the filter. I can only imagine that vaping would be the same. When they exhale, they're still exhaling all of those chemicals. Hey there, darling. Thanks for coming. Hi. But they exhale all those chemicals. And if you're in that room, you're there, you're breathing that in. Because, you know, I can guarantee you that that vape looks like it disappears. But what comes up, what? It's got to come down. And it's still in the air. Just because the smoke is not there, those chemicals are still there. So I don't know the answer to that. Science has not proven that yet. But somewhere in my crazy mind, I'm thinking, yes, I think so. I really do.
You mentioned that a lot of children are vaping. Do you have numbers on what groups, like what age groups specifically?
What age groups? We do
Yes,
have high school numbers. Let me start 16 years ago when I started here at the partnership. All I did was smoking. Smoking education is what I was actually brought in to do. All the research showed that at 16 years ago, we had 25.4% of all seniors who smoked cigarettes in the state of Alabama. All right? So, and then 25% of all adults were smoking. We know today, after the survey was taken in Alabama, 5% of our youth are smoking cigarettes. Guess how many are vaping? It's way up there, 25.5% are vaping. And these are children who've never put a cigarette in their mouth. They never tried cigarette smoking because they know it's bad for you. For some reason, they listened to me when I went to them in kindergarten. And when we saw you guys, when you were in 5th and 6th grade and we talked about how dangerous smoking was, they listened and they understood that this was a bad habit to get into. But nobody has come to them and said that vaping is bad. And like I had said before, the big tobacco companies are picking up these companies because they see a need for the vaping device instead of your smoking of your cigarettes. But we do know there are lots of different chemicals. Y'all did a video not too long ago and told us all the chemicals that were in, or some of them, that were actually found inside these devices. We know aluminum is found inside our device, and the reason being is that the vaping devices are made out of these materials. And when they heat up in the chambers, they get hot and they start to disintegrate, and it brings some of that compound is what it is. It brings it out, and they actually are inhaling these chemicals also. Do y'all remember some of the chemicals that we said in the video? You do? Lithium, right? Exactly. Propylene glycol. We also know that propylene glycol, it is found in every vaping solution on the market, every last one of them. And we also know that it is dangerous for our aquatic animals. It will kill fish. You put it in the water and it sucks all the oxygen out of the water. And we're vaping this product every day. A lot of the chemicals inside of the vaping devices, they are FDA approved for your consumption, for you to put it in your mouth and for you to chew on it and swallow it. What happens is when we put those chemicals or those compounds inside our lungs, we found that with the marijuana vaping, and they were putting the vitamin E inside of those compounds, so it would make it a smoother inhale for those who were doing the THC. Well, vitamin E is a wonderful product. You know, it can get rid of our wrinkles, it can make our skin very soft. It's fantastic. But when you put it inside your lungs, it breaks down the compounds of your sacs. It does so much damage. It's absolutely horrible. Yep. Do you have any more?
Could vaping and smoking cigarettes, could it do anything to your lips or your face?
To your lip. Well, we know that cigarette smoking can cause cancer of your lips and of your mouth, right? And down your throat. I haven't seen any research or any science to prove that vaping has started hurting people. I could only imagine that a heated product that is going down into your windpipe and into your lung, it's going to have some damage eventually, you know.
Blow in your face.
Oh yes, they do blow. They do. They do. Matter of fact, I have the biggest picture I have, if people on TV want to see this is a good picture of where a vaping device had actually blown up into this gentleman's face. He was one of the lucky ones because he actually walked away with like second-degree burns. This gentleman was actually shaving, and he lost a finger. When he went to pick up his device, it blew up. And it, you know, way back when these vaping devices first came out, the lithium batteries, you know, water and lithium doesn't work. It has never mixed, and things do blow up. But this gentleman here was actually the first casualty. He passed away. He was on vacation in Texas. He was at a bar with a bunch of friends, and he had a tank. You know, there's so many different types of vaping products. He had one of those big tanks, and he turned it on, and when he inhaled, it actually blew up. And the flames went in his mouth, down his throat, into his stomach, where it just singed his stomach and had big gaping holes. Well, he was from Alabama, so they flew him into UAB, when his family got there, is when they took him off of life support. But we have had 5 people who have passed away due to these devices blowing up. Matter of fact, if you're on a plane trip, you are not allowed to put a vaping device inside your suitcase because we know the vibration will cause it to blow up. As this picture of the console inside this little guy's his car. He had just got a brand new car in for his 16th birthday, and his mother was so excited, and she gets up the next morning, her car wouldn't work. So he had been out the night before with his friends, and of course he had a vaping device. And he threw it in his console when he got home because, you know, he don't want anybody to see that. So his mother had asked him to take him to school because her car wouldn't start. So they were going down a road that had been graded. You know, they were getting ready to repave the road, so it was really, you know, oh, you know that sound. So they were going down the road because of the vibration. His vaping device blew up in the console and actually singed him all on his right side of his body. His mother, who was on, of course, the passenger side of the car, she was fine. But it's amazing how these products just blow up when they want to. So you have to be really careful with that too. I mean, it's a chance that you're taking. You have no idea. Isn't that crazy? Do you have any more questions? Another one?
Does vaping always involve nicotine?
That's a great one. Thank you, Austin. They have products on the market that say 0 nicotine on the vaping device. And when I have asked students in the schools, I don't vape nicotine, I'm just doing it for the flavor, you know. And the thing is, and I keep telling them, I said, well, why do you keep doing it if it's not because of the nicotine? I just like to make these ginormous,
Clouds.
clouds of smoke, and then they're making all those cute little smoke rings, and he said he does tornadoes and things, And I said, well, do you think you could give it up? And he just kind of looked at me like, I don't know about that. And I said, maybe it does have some nicotine in it, because, nicotine is very addicting. We all know addiction is one of those things, you got to have it. You got to do it. And if you don't have it, you start to get shaky, you get a little nervous. So, he was unwilling to even try to give it up because, no, I just like to play around with it. So I don't think, because it's not FDA approved, nobody is checking on it. So they could put just as much nicotine in any product. As long as they get you hooked on it, you're going to buy it again and again and again.
Can vape cause brain damage?
Can vaping cause brain damage? That's a good question. There is no science attached to that, no. But we do know that nicotine affects your brain, especially at a younger age. When you get addicted at a younger age, it stays with you longer. It affects your endorphins. It makes you feel good. It makes you, feel like, everything is great. Your body is calm. Everything is going really well that day. It's fantastic until you start to come off of it. And of course, the younger you are, the harder that addiction sticks into your brain. Yeah. Good question.
I know you mentioned smoking cigarettes earlier, and now we're talking about vaping. Could that cause the same diseases and cancers?
You know what? No one has found cancer due to vaping as of yet. Vaping is still very new to the market, and it's like I was telling y'all earlier about the popcorn lung and the wet lung. Those are just 3 years in of research. They have found that this is happening to people. So I could only imagine later on these things will start popping up, because we do know it's a very dangerous product. It's very harsh on your lungs. Anytime you put something in your lungs other than the air that we breathe, you're going to do damage to yourself. There's no safe product ever. And we know that nicotine it's not a good, chemical, because it does get addicting, and you got to have more and more and more of it. Yeah. So that's what I always say. If you just don't start, you're not going to have to worry about it. Yeah. You know what? While you're passing that around, we didn't introduce y'all on the way in. Could you just tell us your name and what school you go to and what grade you're in?
I'm Ashley, and I go to Rehoboth High School, and I'm in the 10th grade.
I'm Tyler. I go to Dothan High, and I'm in the 10th grade.
I'm Austin. I'm a 10th grader, and I go to Wicksburg High School.
I'm Demayan. I'm in 9th grade, and I go to Dothan Group.
I'm Jody, and I'm in 11th grade, and I go to Wicksburg High School.
I'm Mary Catherine, and I'm in 11th grade, and I go to Ashford High School.
That's wonderful. You know what? I am very proud of our youth council this year. You guys have stood up. You're working in our community. Roxanne Fuentes is their coordinator, and she has done such a great job with y'all this year. I'm so proud of you. I just want everyone to know out there that if you have a community service project that needs to be done, if you're looking for volunteers, we have a lot of incredible students who would love to come out and help with your event. We do tell everyone, as long as there's no alcohol involved, then these children will be there and they will work very hard for you, and they just make it an incredible event. You really do. I'm very proud of y'all. Y'all don't know that, do you? I just had to plug that in for them. Uh, you're so welcome.
Um, with the vaping, is it only tobacco products or can you vape other products as well?
Oh my goodness. Now that is a subject for another day because yes, THC, which is the chemical in marijuana, is definitely being vaped. They are also vaping marijuana, the green stuff, the real stuff as people call it, and they're using vaping devices that they buy from the stores, and they tweak it a little bit, and they're using those devices to smoke marijuana in also, which gives them a stronger hit. That's definitely another day, but yes, they are. And a lot of these illnesses, the lung diseases that they have found, the CDC has found, I told you, so many people had passed away and so many people are in the hospital. A lot of those have actually come from the THC and the vitamin E oil that had been added to it. Most of those are black market, which is when states legalize marijuana, you're going to have the dealer on the corner who's going to have the same product, but it's not made the same way. But it's going to cost you a lot less. And that's what you call the black market. And that's where most people will go and buy it from the dealer on the street corner. But yes, that is another day, and we'd love to come back and talk about that. Alabama is also getting ready to, they've got a bill in Montgomery. The Senate is getting ready to bring it up to have medical marijuana approved here in the state of Alabama when there are other products available already. So, right. And also, before we go, the federal government has actually risen the smoking age limit to 21 years old. And I think we need to start maybe a little rally or a little campaign or something and let our senators and let our representatives know that here in the state of Alabama, we'd like to raise that rate to 21 years old. Because we know, it has been proven that if a child does not smoke or do alcohol by the age of 21, chances are they never will. So we think that's a great idea, especially with the vaping being so prevalent in our communities. At your schools, y'all see it on a daily basis. Children, when I was that age, I thought I was invincible too. I smoked cigarettes. I didn't think I'd ever die, But there are consequences for every action. So, right, 1 minute.
That ends our Teen Talk for today. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Scenic TV. Follow us on our Instagram page and our Facebook page for more updates on our Teen Talk.